Good morning, class 6th. Today we will start our chapter 5, that is separation of substances. Okay, dear students, you have studied about matter. It exists in three forms: solid, liquid, and gas. Okay, you studied matters. It exists in three forms: solid, liquid, and gas. Now, the matter can change from one state to another upon heating or cooling. We all know, for example, conversion of water into ice and back to ice into water. Okay, you can see a pic shown over there, and in these pics, you need to separate out. You need to separate out one thing from another, like tea leaves from the tea decantation and yellow and green split peas. Okay, and from pulaus, cloves from the pulaus, as well as bran from the wheat flour, you need to separate out. Then what will be the methods or the techniques you will opt for separating them? These we will study in this particular chapters. Okay, and we learn about pure substances, mixtures, solution and solubility, separation of substances also. So let's start our discussion. Pure substances. Substances that are made up of only one type of particles are called pure substances. Only one type of particles. There will be no mixing or grouping with others. Examples are gold, silver, oxygen, and water are few examples of pure substances. Mixture. Substances that are made up of two or more particles are called mixtures. For example, air is a mixture of different gases. Different types of substances present in a mixture are called components or its constituents. Okay, here is a mixture of different gases. So the mixtures can be again categorized into two categories: the mixtures in which the components are distributed uniformly and cannot be seen clearly are called homogeneous mixture. For example, air and mixture of salt dissolved in water. And other type of mixture will be heterogeneous mixture, in which components are not distributed uniformly, एक जैसे डिस्ट्रीब्यूट ना किए गए हों, and can be seen clearly are called heterogeneous. For example, mixture of oil and water. Got it, dear students? Pure substances, only one type of particles. Mixture, more than one type or two or more than two types of particle. Heterogeneous, homogeneous. In heterogeneous, we studied about air and mixture of salt dissolved in water. Heterogeneous, mixture of oil and water. Solution and solubility. Now we will study. Okay, have you ever tried to mix salt in water? When we add salt to water, it mixes and disappears. This is because salt dissolves in water. Salt, the substance dissolved in water, is called solute, and the water, the substance in which the solute dissolves, is called solvent, and their solute plus solvent will give us a solution. Got it? Substances that dissolve in water completely are called soluble substances, and the substances which do not dissolve in the water are called insoluble. Example of soluble are sugar, salt, and glycerin, and insoluble such as sand, chalk, powder, oil, and insoluble in water. Okay, what happens when we keep on adding more and more salt to water while stirring it? A stage will be reached stage will be reached when no salt could be dissolved in the water. At this stage, the solution is said to be saturated solution. Got it? A solution in which no more solute can be added or dissolved is called saturated solution. It is possible to dissolve more solute in a saturated solution upon heating also. In other words, it can be said that the solubility of a solute in a given solvent can be increased by heating. Heating will be the factor. Heating will be a factor which can increase the solubility of solute in the solvent. Okay. The tendency of a solute to dissolve in a given liquid at a given temperature is called solubility. Okay. It is called solubility. Solubility of a substance in hot water is more than cold water. Okay, so the factors on which it will depend: increase in temperature of the solvent, increase in the amount of the solvent, as well as stirring also. If you will leave as it is, then it will not got dissolved by itself. Separation of substances. How we will separate substance from one to another. Few substances are used in their pure form and hence separation of mixture is necessary. The separation of component uh, in a mixture is necessary because to obtain useful components from the mixture, to remove impurities or unwanted material from the mixture, you have seen rack pickers, they will separate plastics or other items from the rack so that they can uh, sell out them and got money from them. That is an example of substance separation also. Methods of separation. We will study about these methods one by one. Different methods are used for separating one substance from another. Handpicking is one of them. The methods used earlier also, and nowadays it is less preferred. The process of separating component of mixture by hand is called handpicking. This method is based on difference in color, shape and size of the component in a mixture. In this method, the particles that are fewer in number are handpicked. Okay. For example, small stones, dirt and husk can easily be picked from rice or dal. Similarly, kidney beans can be separated from yellow lentils and tines while hand picking. Okay. Another method, you can see the second one, figure 5.2. This figure you will just try to remember when your mother cook food for you. See, just sieve the flour from the sieving instrument or tool. Okay. The method of separating components of a solid mixture with the help of sieve is called sieving. This method is based on the difference in the particle size of the components of a mixture. Sieving is used when the particles to be separated are very small. Particle to be separated are very small to be handpicked. In this method, particles which are smaller in size than the pores in the sieve, they will pass through the sieve while the bigger are left in the sieve and hence separated from each other. Sieve is commonly used in kitchen to separate bran from the wheat. Got it? A construction site, sieving is used to separate pebbles from the stones and the sand. Okay, from the sand. Winnowing, we have also uh, seen this processes during the process of uh, agricultural agricultural practices. Winnowing is also the process of separating grains from the chaff or husk by action of wind is called wind winnowing. You can easily remember it. W wind and winnowing. The mixture of husk and grain is taken in a tray or winnowing baskets. Okay, the farmer stands at higher level and allow the mixture to fall down. The grains being heavier falls almost vertically down while the lighter chaff is carried away by the moving wind, making a separate heap from away from the grains. Okay, very common practice in the fields to separate these chaff from the grains. Threshing, the process in which grains are separated from the stalk by beating them against a hard surface is called threshing. Threshing can be done manually or with the help of machines. In manual threshing, farmers holds a pile of harvested crop. Far- Farmer holds a pile of harvested crop in his hands and beat against the rock or a hard surface. Beating loosens and separates the grains from the stalk. You can see easily. Okay. These types of practices are preferred or done in the crop of rice threshing. Okay. Sedimentation and decantation. Okay, let's continue with sedimentation and decantation. The process of separating insoluble solid components present in a liquid by allowing them to settle down at the bottom of the container is called sedimentation. And the substances that those got settled down at the bottom of the container are called sediments. The liquid above the sediments is called supernatant. Sediments and supernatants liquids are then separated by decantation. In this method, the supernatants is carefully poured into another beaker without disturbing the sediments. So the process of transferring the supernatants into another beaker without disturbing the sediments is called decantation. Without disturbing the sediments is called decantation. Sand can be separated from water by sedimentation and decantation. The mixture of sand and water is allowed to stand undisturbed for some time. Sand being the heavier settles down at the bottom. Water is poured into another container. Okay. Filtration, the another process of separating of substances. The process of separation of insoluble solid components present in a liquid by passing the mixture from a porous medium such as filter paper is called filtration. Common example is separating of tea leaves from the tea by the filter. Okay. During filtration, insoluble solid particles present in the mixture are collected in the filtering device and liquid passes through it. It is important that the size of holes in the filtering device should be smaller than the size of the particles to be filtered. Got it? Got it, dear students? In filtering, the size of the pores will be small in comparison to the impurity particles. Okay. At home, filtration is used to separate tea leaves from the tea using a strainer. Seeds and pulp from the orange juice can be separated by the filtrations. Okay, these are some common practices done at home. Evaporation. Evaporate. You can see evaporation of salt, separation of salt from seawater, separation of salt from seawater by the process of evaporation. The process in which liquid changes into gaseous state is called evaporation. Evaporation is used to separate a soluble solid present in a solution. In this method, the mixture whose components are to be separated is heated. Upon heating, the liquid part of the mixture get evaporated, leaving behind the solid part. Sea water contains large amount of salt dissolved in it. Evaporation is used to obtain Evaporation is used to obtain salt from the seawater. To obtain salt, seawater is collected in the shallow ponds called salt pans. Okay, seawater collection in the salt pans is allowed to dry in the sun. The sun's heat evaporates the water, leaving behind the salt in the salt pans. Salt is collected from the salt pan and sent for the further purification. Purified salt can be used for various purposes. Okay, you can see over there in the pics also the salt pans are shown over there, and the water is removed by the process of evaporation, and the salt can be further purified for its use. Condensation, other process you can see. The process in which a gas changes into a liquid state is called condensation. When you boil the milk at your home and when you covered it with a plate, and when the milk cooled down and the liquid cool downs, you will see the water droplets water droplets below the plates. Okay, that is the condensation process in simple words. Okay, in that the liquid in that the gaseous form of water got converted into liquid form. Condensation is opposite to evaporation process. Okay, condensation takes place only when the vapor comes in contact with a cold surface. Got it? Use of more than one method of separation. Many a times it is not possible to separate the substance present in a mixture using single methods. In such cases, two or more methods are used for the separation of substance present in the mixture. You can see in the activity also, to separate a mixture of salt and sand, you need to use more than one methods. Filtration and evaporation can be used over there. Okay. Now see the concept mapping. It will help out us. It will help out us to study whatever we discussed in this particular chapter. Methods of separation can be sedimentation, decantation, filtration, handpicking, threshing, winnowing, sieving, evaporation, and condensation. Got it? Separation in decantation process done for separating insoluble solids from the liquids. Handpicking, separating slightly larger impurities. Okay. Threshing, separating grains from the stalk. Winnowing, separating grains from the chaff. Okay. And sieving, separating smaller and bigger particles. And evaporation and condensation, separating soluble solids from liquids. Got it? Got it, dear students? So in this way, just see the keywords also. See the keywords, what we key terms we studied during the discussion of these chapters. Okay, just read out them and learn these key terms. Okay, dear students, we will do the exercise of this chapter tomorrow. Thank you so much, dear students. Have a good day. Thank you. Bye bye.